Everyone, I'm Tanguy, this is Gaelle, and today we're going to talk about how organizations hallucinate as well. First, as a short introduction, we come from different paths, meaning that Gaelle is doing product and transformation, while I'm more on the data and engineering side, but we share a deep care about how we build things together, and we tend to joke about the fact that we do XP before extreme pragmatism. And this code is provided by Vision, the company I work for, which aims through AI and a bit of fundraising to end shoplifting. And Gaelle will kickstart with a short story.
Yes. So the story starts with you being a data product manager. At some point, there is a value engineer that comes to you with a problem. A key concept in the company is distributed by a single dashboard impacted by a project. So you start retro-engineering with your staff and your data analysts, and you figure out that the data you need comes from 3 different sources in 3 different domains, 1, 2, 3. So you start working on the architecture, and you figure out that actually the governance doesn't work because everyone had a different definition for the concept. So you figure it out, and then you discuss ownership with the leaders. Who is actually going to distribute the data, and is it a dashboard that we need? So at some point, the project is getting very late, so you need to escalate because you are not ready and everything is happening without you. When you escalate, you figure out that actually the CDO tells you that another domain was already working on the topic. When you discuss with them, their data scientists implemented another architecture with another definition. The very fun fact of this talk is that the data analyst and the data scientist, they were actually in the same team from the beginning. So we wanted to illustrate with here what we called systemic confusion. Everyone was trying to be helpful, but at the end we achieved nothing. In reality, if we wanted to have a single vision, we needed to align 12 roles and 35 people. So if we want to reframe the problem in a simpler way, we would do a very simple graph and ask 3 questions. What was the business actual needs transversally? Is a single data model able to answer all those needs? And then who is supposed to compute and distribute the data across the organization?
And this simplicity is what actually brings value at Vision, the company I work for. So I'm going to try to get into a real example on how we can put this in practice. First, a bit of context. So at Vision, we detect suspicious gestures in retail stores, meaning that in real time, if you put an item under your clothes or in a bag, we want to send an alert to the shop owner. And we detect many different kinds of suspicious gestures, but the 2 main ones are suspicious gestures that are close to the body, meaning putting an item in a pocket or in the clothes, and putting item into bags. And through many user interactions and discussions, we refined that gestures close to the body are more important than gestures in bags because they more often lead to theft. And this is the value we agreed on. And so we derived a very simple formula for a metric, which is the value is the number of body alerts we send plus the number of bag alerts we send, but body are more important, minus the number of alerts we send. Actually, I would like to say that in real life, your personal value has nothing to do with the body count, of course. And so as long as we can align everyone on this simple formula and all the 3 different parts are aware of it, we can actually take meaningful actions. As an example, the business users can configure the product in a way that increases this metric. The applications can create design, user flows, and features that increase this metric. And the AI teams can design AI models that go in the direction of this metric. What is very interesting about it is that everyone in the organization in these 3 teams is aware of the metric, is able to measure it, and so is able to quantify whether the actions are going in the right direction. And then you could ask yourselves, how do we scale this? And Gaelle will answer.
So we argue that scaling doesn't mean adding layers. It actually means being able to connect people better. And in particular in data teams, it means enabling information and knowledge to flow across the organization. This is something very important because what we argue is that the difference between analytical and operational ground actually doesn't exist from a business perspective. And so basically what we want to show here is that we need to stop thinking organization as silos where only the top and the bottom layers work together and are forced to work together actually. And we need to start thinking organization as a network. So in a network, the people will be able to align around a shared mission, and then a leader can have all the dependent visions under his lead and be able to give a direction around the same context. Tanguy will conclude.
Yes, so we want to conclude on two main aspects. The first one being that we lost the slides. Whatever. So the first one is that we want to emphasize we should structure teams around a centered vision and not specialized roles or job descriptions. And the second one is that organizations will move and it's fine. So we need to get used to having organizations and domains changing. And so this talk, you may have noticed, is greatly inspired by domain-driven design, but we also like to call it dynamic domain definition. Thank you.